saying that, oh, the border, and Biden and Harris would say, well, send me a border legislation, because there was a border legislation that was proposed in Congress that said you can close the border once you reach 5,000 illegal border crossings a day. And I'm like, why would you want to codify into law that you're accepting 5,000 border crossings a day? It was a horrendous bill. It wouldn't have solved the problem. But basically, during the campaign, that was what Harris was saying. She says, well, you didn't do, if you guys hadn't killed the bill, we would have the border secured. Well, January 20th, there has not been any new legislation since then on securing the border. The president just did it. And so we now have a 94% reduction. So we are proud to have participated in that mission when Texas really needed it. But now we're very confident in the federal government's posture on that. But there was a lot of great work done by Florida guardsmen, state guardsmen, when they were there. So this past hurricane season, over 600 members partnered with Division of Emergency Management, Fish and Wildlife, Department of Law Enforcement, Highway Patrol, National Guard. They conducted more than 300 search and rescue missions and 220 health and welfare checks. They were on the ground, Florida State Guard soldiers on the ground, 43 of Florida's 67 counties during hurricane season, and were making a remarkable difference. At my direction, following Hurricane Helene, the Florida State Guard was also deployed to western North Carolina. I think those of you remember Helene, it did major storm surge really from southwest Florida all the way up to the Big Bend, and it was like 100 miles away from the coast, the west coast, in the central and southern parts, but the surge was still big, and so you had big problems there. It hits the Big Bend as a Category 4, and we had all our folks staged like what we do. We have the linemen stage. We had millions of power restored within the record time. We had search and rescue. We had all this stuff going on. So that happens as soon as the storm hits. Well, fortunately, even in a place like Taylor County, which was ground zero, you know, they had evacuated. There was not as many rescues as we feared. Now, there were some in other parts because of the water and how the surge, but all that stuff was taken care of. Things got stabilized relatively quickly. So then we're in a situation, I'm looking, and all hell's breaking loose in western North Carolina. It was a terrible situation, which in and of itself is a problem, and we get help from other states. And so we always will respond. You know, people made a big deal because we sent help for California for something recently. And I'm like, that's not unusual with states. California has sent help to Florida in the past. So we were, you know, we wanted to help anyways. But western North Carolina, so this was late September, so kind of past the summer season. But you go to western North Carolina in the summer, and you throw a dart anywhere on that map, you will hit someone from Florida. I mean, it's like Florida North, basically. So we've got a lot of our residents that spend time up there. Some of them have homes up there. And so I was concerned that some of them would be stranded, because you literally have communities that the bridges fell out, the roads washed away, and it was really, really difficult. So within record time on this, who shows up? Florida State Guard Special Missions Unit is showing up, getting people, and then bringing them to safety. And a lot of these people were very happy to see them, but honestly, they were surprised that they had wanted help, and the first people to show up are from Florida. So they really, really appreciated that, and I know that that was something that was a big deal. So we had 2 different special mission unit search and rescue teams, 4 different counties in North Carolina, and they did it for basically a week. But then remember, we had Milton that came, so we kind of redeployed, and we're ready for that. But that was really, really good operations there. They also helped up do things like set up temporary bridges. We had our FDOT there, all these other things. FEMA was really nowhere to be found, as you know, during that period of time. So I think that if you turn back the clock to a few years ago when we said we needed to stand this up, if you look at what's actually been accomplished, way more has been accomplished than I think even people like me thought was possible, and I was very gung-ho about the idea. So this is something that has been a great asset for the state. We have a lot of demand for really good people who want to join and be a part of it. We need to continue to meet that demand and welcome people who want to come for service to the state. If you look at what we pay for Florida Guard per day, what we pay for aircraft, all that stuff, on an hourly basis, we actually pay more when we use National Guard. The airtime costs more than when we use State Guard. Now, we obviously have some upfront costs standing everything up and whatnot, but this has been, I think, a very value-added thing for the state of Florida. All the things that people were saying years ago when we stood that up, those have been exposed as being bogus. That was a phony narrative. And anyone that's indulging in those narratives is, willingly doing the bidding of people with a political agenda. So I'm just glad that we've seen so much success. I'm so very thankful that people want to step up and serve in uniform on behalf of the state of Florida. Reality is we have to be able to control our own destiny on matters that affect the life and safety of Floridians. When we have these natural disasters, when we need to do these responses, we got to have a force that's capable and that's not going to be interfered with from the federal government. And yes, I don't foresee that happening under the current administration, but administrations change. That's just what happens over the years. You see that. So we're protected against whatever may come down the pike 5, 10, 15 years from now by having a really strong state guard that serves Floridians and really puts it on the line to help their fellow Floridians. So thank you for what you've done. I'm excited to be serving as Commander-in-Chief of a capable force, and I look forward to continuing